So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, another episode of the Pottscast. It's the wrestling edition, the lowdown. I'm joined here by Peter. Peter, you are on social media at, where are you on social media? I thought you changed it recently, which is why I don't remember.
Yeah, so I switched it more to a beer-centric account with the job that I do. So you can find me on Twitter at Hops Causing This, and you can find me on Instagram at Hops Causing All This.
Perfect. Well, Peter, it's great to get you back on the show. How's your day going so far?
Yeah, it's all right, actually. Not too bad. Been a bit busy today. Gone out and done a few bits and pieces with work, canned some nice fresh beer for the market. So, yeah, that's not too bad. How about yours?
Yeah, man, exact same. It's lunchtime here. Went done a couple of things this morning, walked the dog, back to work, popped off a lunch break, recording this, and we're going to get right on into it. We're going to talk tag team wrestling.
Let's do this.
We're going to talk about your favorite or favorites if you don't have particular one, a couple of honorable mentions. But first of all, you have been a referee. So tell me a little bit about refereeing a tag team match.
It's one of the interesting parts of being a ref. You know, I mean, I was a referee for a long time over here in the UK, at least 8 years. Got out of that due to an injury about 6 years ago. There is no grey area. They're either really good or they're really bad, and a lot of it goes down to the people that are in them. You know, on the indies, everybody's obviously trying to make a name for themselves. Yeah. You never really see a lot of actual tag teams, but when you do, they're good, and you know they're good. I always try to say to people, and it's funny because people always put me down because they're like, oh, you're just trying to put yourself over, which is true. There's in the inside of the ring, the match is never one-on-one. It's always 3 people, or if it's a 2-on-2 tag team match, it's never 4 guys, it's always 5. You know, the referee is a key component, and they can either make a contest or break a contest. And you know, you have to work with, you know, with what you're given, and a lot of it is feeding through from the teams. So like, for example, you've got heels that are, you know, coming through the ropes, and you're then cutting them off, and you have to then go straight over because they're, oh, ref, he's over there. You turn around, the baby face is trying to get in, they're not holding their tag rope. All your attention is then on that baby, so your back is to whatever is happening. You'll hear the crowd will be reacting, ref. So the other heels got in, they're doing a double team or something. My eyes then become that face. That face then needs to tell me when he's out and it's ready for me to go, because I'm blind, it's all happening behind me. And you'll be surprised how many people don't know that, and you have to tell them that. So it can be quite challenging, and you can, you know, I'm talking from an indie level, you can see how challenging it can be on most of the big programs that we watch and we've spoken about. It's not, I wouldn't say they're my favorite contests to call, but I've had some good ones.
Fascinating insight, because you're right. We watched WWE, we watched AEW, we've watched TNA back in the day, WCW, whatever, and you can see how difficult at times it is on those shows. Never mind at an indie level where guys are probably still trying to make a name for themselves and maybe aren't overly, I wouldn't say familiar with the rules, because they probably are, but maybe they're not doing it by the book as such. But it brings me on now to our major topic. Your favorite tag team or favorite tag teams, if you don't have one, and why. But before we get there, give me a couple of quick fire honorable mentions.
So it did take me a little bit of a while to get the list together, but honorable mentions for me have to be solid, you know, some solid teams. Legion of Doom, the Steiner brothers, Owen and the Bulldog. This was the team that, up until I get to telling you who my team is, I was going to mention as my team, but the Dudley Boys have to fall into the category as an honourable mention. The Hardys, you know, even teams like you were saying, just Impact Wrestling, America's Most Wanted were a solid tag team. Beer Money were a solid tag team.
I love Beer Money. I absolutely loved Beer Money.
Yeah. So you're gonna there's some good workers there, good teams in that list, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think every team that you've named has some claim to being one of the top teams in the division, or top teams in the company, or top teams in wrestling at a particular period of time anyway. So tell me about the teams that you've got at the very top then, and not only just who they are, but give me a bit of the why in behind why you like them so much.
So it was hard because, as we spoke off air, I've never really been a huge tag fan, so it was an interesting topic to go down. Obviously, you know, with the ref experience and stuff, I greatly appreciate you asking me to do the video. I've got two really. Obviously, because I've got such a wide spectrum for guys and girls that have been listening to the podcast before. I've been a wrestling fan since 1992, so I've got a really large spectrum of catalogue that I've watched and grew up with. I think one of my teams really is the Hart Foundation. You know, and I'm going right back to Jim and Brett when I refer to the Hart Foundation, the original team. They were quality. They were technically sound. They complemented each other's abilities. Jim being the big bruising brawler, Brett being the technical wizard. They were devious and dominated as heels rather, but fair and cooperative as faces. The ironic part about it, when you think towards the end of both guys' career, Jim was the promo guy at the start, and then obviously Brett developed in later life. I just liked the comparison, the differences between the two, comparable in personalities, but technically they were just completely different.
Yeah, the Hart Foundation as well, I think, and this is a question I actually wanted to ask Brett in the Q&A, but we didn't actually get enough time, so I didn't get to ask my question. But I always think that a good tag team not only puts on good matches, not only makes it believable, they have a good dynamics, they have a good cohesion level. There's differences but similarities which make them a good team. But I always like, when I look at a tag team, being like, okay, can you make a star out of one of the participants or both? And I felt the Hart Foundation had that. Maybe at the start people thought it was going to be Jim because he was the guy on the mic, but as time progressed, people really did begin to think, okay, it's Brett, look how good he is. And what they did, maybe a lot of teams don't do. And maybe if you watch a lot of tag team wrestling today, it's very 50-50 for everybody. Whereas back then you looked at it and went, oh, he can be a star. And I think the Hart Foundation got that nailed on.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, which is ironic actually, because when I lead on to the second team in a moment, that personifies everything that you've just said. So, I mean, I'm happy to land that on you right now if you just want me to jump straight in.
Do it. We're right here.
My favourite tag team of all time, and it took me up until 30 seconds before we came on video to admit this, was doesn't matter, Edge and Christian.
Interesting. I think they'll be up there with everybody's, but now I want to know why.
I'm an entertainment guy. You know, it was funny that when I was listening to the last show and I was listening to all of our top fives, and Neela's was talking about The Miz and was saying about how entertaining he is and how, you know, he might not be a 5-star match technical wizard, but he entertains you. I took that thought into who is my favorite tag team, and ultimately, how can it not be Edge and Christian? I'm getting goosebumps even now just thinking about it. They were everything that you wanted: solid, dependable, worked well, blended together well, and they were funny. Whether it was inside the ring, outside the ring, heel, face, they just nailed it. For that reason, they are my team. I've been looking back at a few bits and pieces. You know, you can't argue about the TLC, and the ironic, like I was saying about wanting to pick a different team, I was going to go with the Dudleys because they're another solid team that I always enjoyed watching wherever they were. I even loved their TNA thing. As a random side note, because I did the maths to it, they actually spent more time in Impact, like Kurt Angle. They spent more time in Impact than they did in WWE, and their legacy was there as well. But when I looked at the TLC, and then I clicked through and read some bits and pieces for Edge and Christian, they were my team. Everything was about them was solid. All of their title reigns meant something. They came at prominent positions. There was no kind of throwaways. They elevated and helped support the growth of Kurt Angle. and then they both went on to be super over successful single stars. And you look now in 2021, and Edge's main event in WrestleMania, and Christian's just signed to AEW. So yeah, from a tag team perspective, definitely Edge and Christian for me.
Yeah, they're very high on my list. They're not the number one, but you have to stay tuned to the podcast to find out who that will be. But I can't argue with Edge and Christian. If someone come up to me and said, Edge and Christian, the best tag team in the world, debate it, I'm going to be like, well, no, I can't. I accept it. You know, it'd be one of those ones I would accept. It's not my personal favorite, but I accept that. And I think a thing with Edge and Christian as well, and you touched on it slightly when you mentioned Kurt Angle and his development, what Edge and Christian could do is during one of the very biggest and busiest times of the wrestling business, and one of the busiest boom periods of the wrestling business, they could fluctuate in and out of main events on Raw, on SmackDown, 6-man tags, teaming up against Taker and Kane. You know, they could go on and put on a decent match against, I don't know, The Rock and whoever. Like, they were just able to carry that into main events, and they were able to drop maybe slightly further down the card and go and have a really good tag team program. They were just two guys that really had it all. I think it's pretty fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I mean, you know, when you think about that and isolate that thought for a moment, in modern day terms, the only other team two teams that have really been able to do that since are the New Day and the Usos. They've raised up, they've come back down, but obviously from an era point of view, and you know, 'cause you're a teenage guy growing up in the Attitude Era, that's what carries you through. That's why we're still here today doing this. So yeah, no, it was good. They helped a lot of people along the way, and they still continue to do so.
Yep, wholeheartedly agree. But Pete, it's been great to get you back on the show. Just once again, where can people find you on social media?
Potsy, it's been a pleasure to be back on the show. Quick shout out as well for as an honourable mention, quick that I forgot, FTR, enough said, don't need to say anymore. Guys, you can find me on Instagram at Hops Causing All This. I'm on Twitter at Hops Causing This.
Perfect. Well, Pete, thanks again.
You're welcome. Thanks, man.